I've been with my fiance for 8 years, living together for 3. He works in an extremely competitive industry and is very successful. I'm very proud of him, and while I miss his presence, I'm happy to support him in the lifestyle his career choice imposes on our relationship. Like everyone in his industry, he periodically experiences serious burnout, but is not in a position to take a career break or change industries. He sits at his computer all day, gets little sleep, and is online almost all the time. He can't commit to any plans with himself, friends, family, or me, as they mostly get canceled at the last minute. Not having time for himself or the things that make him happy naturally takes a huge toll on him. He is the unhappiest he has been in a long time. His health has declined. He is in physical pain or feels sore all the time. I cook our meals and follow a healthy diet in general, but we drink, and he snacks a lot during the long nights he has to work. My question is, how can I make life better for him, small or big, to help him get through the days or to help him embrace some small changes that can impact his health for the better? Any advice is welcome, including just leaving him alone. Story 1. Enjoy early retirement before stress overwhelms him and he works himself to death. If he isn't saving lives, no job is worth working around the clock. Story 2. The comments seem more interested in criticizing the guy for working too much, which he most certainly does, but it's his life, not theirs, than actually answering your question. Cooking healthy meals and snacks is one of the best things you can do for him. Prioritize real foods. Even if he worked 40 hours a week instead of 100, eating poorly will make you feel bad. Keep drinking to a minimum. Let it be a fun event, not just a regular thing. If he is frequently sore, massages could help immensely. You could do this for him nightly, or perhaps a professional could come to the house once a week for a 30-minute session, or maybe both. Encourage him to stretch out every day. He should take a couple of minutes in the morning, afternoon, and evening to stretch. A few minutes, a few times a day could make a big impact, especially if he's not stretching at all now. Be affectionate and supportive. Be the positive presence in his life. I'm not saying never have your own emotions. You are a person too. But if his life is turbulent, try to be the calm. Quality sleep will benefit his mind, body, and spirit. Anything to make sleeping easier would be beneficial, but avoid sleeping pills as they can make things worse. If possible, try to set a routine of going on a daily walk whenever you can. Even if it needs to be brief, a regular walk around the block can improve your quality of life and give you both a moment to bond and connect. All in all, the guy is impressive for pushing that hard every day in a competitive industry. Thank you for being concerned about him. Good luck. I wish you both the best. Story 3. What's the point of all his efforts if he's miserable or dead? He seriously needs to reevaluate his priorities in life. Story 4. What's the point of working so many hours if you have no time to enjoy the money you make from it? Over 100 hours is not normal. Story 5. He's unhappy, unhealthy, has no time, and cannot make any social plans. There is nothing you can do other than communicate that he needs to look at his life and get a grip. Story 6. Sounds like he values his work more than his health, family, and friends. There's not much you can do about that besides having an earnest conversation about it. Story 7. What is his long-term goal to earn so much? What job requires 100 hours a week? No human can work that hard. Story 8. The biggest question I have for him is it worth it to you? If he's unable to have a life outside of being a provider for the family he loves, then maybe it's time to think up a plan on how to get out of the race. That could be through changing careers to something less hectic and more financially sustainable, or by helping him transition his skills to something he can rely on. In any case, the first question for him is, what do you think about your current life? And would you like to make any changes if you could? That would provide all the information you need to help him in whichever way he feels he wants to pursue. Story 9. Most people seem to be commenting on his lifestyle choice. Your question is about being the best partner you can be for him without changing him. I used to be like your partner, and here is what I would have appreciated. Not pressuring him further or guilting him. You seem to be a great partner because you are concerned for him to the point where leaving him alone is a part of what you are willing to do. Take care of yourself. Continue to have a good life and whatever you need for you. That way, he is not worried about whether you're doing okay on top of his own stress. Be there for him when you do get time together. Tell him you love him and miss him, and are there for him no matter what, whether that means continuing to work hard or scaling back. Take care of anything in the way of his work. If you're worried about his unhealthy snacking, perhaps provide healthier options. My girlfriend and I sometimes work late, and I make sure she has easy access to favorite healthy things like cheese trays and cured meats. I put out her clothes before her business trip when she had a busy day and packed her a breakfast as she rushed out. She does the same for me. Ultimately, he has to make the choice to change on his own. There is nothing wrong with listening, empathizing, and occasionally indicating that you value time together more than monetary success. Edit. Also, perhaps find a way to tell him that you are worried about his health without guilting him. Story 10. My question is, how can I make life better for him? Whether small or big, to help him get through days or embrace some changes that can improve his health. Any advice is welcome, including giving him space. You need to convince him that his lifestyle is not healthy for himself or your relationship, and that he needs to consider a job change. Work-life balance is extremely important to our physical and mental well-being. His current path is unsustainable and will lead to a bad end. Story 11. Man, 100 hours per week is madness. I can't see any way you can maintain any kind of quality of life when averaging 14 hours a day if you're working 7 days a week. Story 12. Do you work? Do you need that kind of money? Is he paying off debts or living a lavish lifestyle? Is there a need? Story 13. Honestly, putting myself in his position, I would make it okay for him to slow down. Make it clear you aren't with him because of the money or the status, and you'd rather have him alive with half the income than dead by 40 or spend the rest of your life accommodating his constant busyness. Offering him a safe landing to get out and change fields or just aim lower in the field he's in might mean the world to him. One of my friends recently left corporate law. I wonder if he would still be married if he'd done it sooner. Story 14. That sounds really tough. I can't imagine how burnt out your fiancé must be working so many hours. Here are some things that might help. Be a listening ear. Sometimes just letting him vent and unload his frustrations can be a big relief. Help with the little things. Take chores off his plate, cook healthy meals, or run errands. Freeing up his time can give him some breathing room. Encourage healthy habits. Suggest walks, stretches, or even some meditation to help him de-stress. Getting enough sleep is crucial too. Plan some quality time. Even if it's just an hour a night, carve out some time to reconnect and do something relaxing together. Talk about the long term. Is this workload sustainable? Is there a way to delegate or cut back? Maybe explore career options with a better work-life balance. Story 15. There's 168 hours in a week, and he works 100 of them. You're saying at a minimum he works 14-hour days and has no time to do anything but sleep, shower, shave, and do it all over again. How can I improve life for my fiancé who works over 100 hours a week and is burnt out? In this current state, he cannot avoid being miserable and keep this job. What industry is this where everyone has to commit to 14-hour days, 7 days a week? Story 16. If he makes $120,000 working 100 hours and you think he's successful, you're wrong. He just works two $55,000 jobs. Story 17. Are you working and contributing to your joint bills and lifestyle? That would help him work normal hours, around 40 to 50 hours. Change the lifestyle. Live a simpler life and he won't have to work as much. What's the point of having a high-maintenance lifestyle if he's always unhappy and unhealthy? Story 18. I had burnout at the start of the year due to a job that was taking away my soul. Eventually, one day, I understood I had to leave it all behind. Here's to me, currently in a job where it pays less, but at least I have my soul. You can't do anything else but stand next to him through this tough period. But he must understand that 100 hours per week is inhuman and should not be the norm, and that's where you might help. He must know that you care about him and that working 14 hours a day on average is not healthy for him. Be gentle, as people in burnout usually don't hear others' opinions, and it might take a while for him to understand. Story 19. He is a software developer. Isn't he? He is addicted to computers and the thrill of making things work. He is also afraid that someone might beat him to the solution, which is a strange power issue. Unfortunately, you can't combat that addiction. Maybe someday he will grow out of it. I know this because I went through it and I work with those types of people. Story 20. Are you sure he's working the entire time and not gaming? I'm prepared for the downvotes. And I'm a woman. Story 21. My ex-husband worked like this for his family business for most of our 20-year marriage, and then he had 2 heart attacks. It will catch up to him. He'll never get that time back. I spent so much time alone, always making excuses for why he couldn't make our son's games or special events. Yes, I lived a life of luxury because of it, but I told him I'd rather have less and have him around. Story 22. He needs to make the personal decision to prioritize his own life more often. If he is as good as you say he is, he will not be fired. It is incredibly difficult to get good employees in any industry. He could easily find another job with fewer responsibilities and more money if he looked. Story 23. Honestly, outside of somehow convincing him to change his lifestyle because it's likely to harm him sooner rather than later, the best you can do is make sure you are available whenever he needs you and that he knows you are well provided for after he passes away. We don't tend to hear much about people who work themselves to death because they are gone. The ones we do hear about are those who survive with very strict warnings that if they continue on their current course, they are not going to survive the next heart attack or other health issues. I would legitimately ask both you and him what positives you are hoping to gain from his current lifestyle and if it's worth the costs. It's easy to look at a lot of money and get overwhelmed by it, but consider that at 100 hours per week, he's working 2.5 full-time jobs. In my industry, overtime is 100% of my calculated hourly wage. So unless he's making 4 times what he would earn working a regular 40-hour per week full-time job, he's losing money in hourly wages on top of exhausting his life. Whatever that is worth to him and you is something for you to decide. Story 24. That's pretty extreme. Either win the lottery or get yourself a better job so he doesn't need to work so much. He needs to cut back for his health and your relationship's health. Story 25. Make sure he knows how much you appreciate him and are proud of him. That will make everything seem lighter. Story 26. He's stuck. He thinks this is the only good thing and has made up reasons for it. For example, he'll be successful, so the money will improve his family's future, and he believes the sacrifice is worth it. He's wrong, though. As someone who has jeopardized a relationship because of this mindset, he thinks he's doing it for the right reasons and doesn't see that there are better choices. A balanced lifestyle is better. Unfortunately, the only thing that helped me was reaching rock bottom, losing my girlfriend, and having no one. The only difference is I'm 27, and I can bounce back, and I'm making strides to do so. You need to help him see that his delusions are wrong. If he's stubborn, you need to scare him or threaten to leave. He needs to realize this isn't it. Story 27. If he is so unhappy, then why is he unwilling to change industries? No job is worth sacrificing happiness. Story 28. It's one thing to work intensely in short bursts for various reasons, but if he needs to do it constantly, he's either overspending, being taken advantage of, or has misguided priorities. You can help him by finding a way to live healthier with him. Story 29. He can either unwind, start to work less, and balance his life in a healthier way, or he will experience a massive crisis. The best way to help him is to guide him toward the former path and avoid the latter. Story 30. You can improve the situation by planning an exit strategy for him. It's not sustainable to work 100 hours per week for years on end. Set a specific date in the near future for him to reduce his workload. Story 31. He needs to find another job. He's not successful at what he does if he's miserable and working 2 full-time jobs worth of hours just to hang on by a thread and ruin every other aspect of his life. That's foolish behavior, and I know because I did the same thing right after college. Story 32. He needs to make himself happy by leaving that job or industry. It's not worth it. Nothing you do is going to make him enjoy life more when he has no time to enjoy it. Eventually, he will snap out of it when it's too late and realize he doesn't have a support system, friends, or family around him anymore because he pushes them away for work. Story 33. What's the point of working hard if it means sacrificing everything else you care about? He needs to get his priorities straight before he loses it. Story 34, 100 hours per week, which is 14 hours every day, with no weekends. The poor girl thinks he is really at work all that time. Story 35. The only serious advice is he needs to work less. A 100-hour week is insane and not sustainable. To be honest, it sounds like an addiction. It's affecting his life negatively, it's affecting those around him negatively, and he can't stop. Story 36. Your fiance sounds like me. In the last couple of years, I burned the candle at both ends. I worked insane hours, with 12-hour workdays becoming the norm. My wife encouraged me to spend at least a few hours with our kids and her so we could go out. I'm still working an average of 60 hours a week, which is less than what I was doing before. Guys, in general, tend to get too attached to our jobs and titles, thinking we're the only ones who can fix the issues. It's part of having a God complex. He needs to pick up a hobby and have time to himself. He also needs to make time for friends and family. Once he gets past the guilt phase of leaving work for the next day and nothing bad happens, he will eventually come around. Hope this helps. Story 37. I truly hope you're exaggerating with the 100 hours. That would mean either 14 7-hour days or 16 to 17-hour days, 5 days a week. It sounds like it's happening daily. There's nothing you can do for him other than suggest a career change or some type of work-life balance. I understand some people working 60 hours a week because they have 2 jobs. Nobody should be working 80 hours a week. It is terrible for your health and overall well-being. A job pushing 50 hours? I get it. Many emergency medical services workers have a second job on their days off to stay busy. You need to have a serious talk with him about what he wants. This is your life that you are about to fully commit to. Someone who works that much can't be anything other than a bank for you and your kids. It is not healthy. Story 38. Encourage him to find his exit strategy now. There's no point in being successful at your job, regardless of the number of hours worked, if you're dead. Burnout means unchecked, unhealthy coping mechanisms. Story 39. The best thing for you to do is tell him to change jobs. Story 40. I think the question is, do you want to live like this with a partner who doesn't want to change their circumstances? No, you don't. Story 41. Sounds like a workaholic who can't set proper boundaries for himself. One thing to do is take however much he's earning and break it down into an hourly rate. That often puts into perspective how ridiculous it is to be working so many hours per week. Story 42. Why is he working this hard? Does he need to be working this hard? At a certain point, he needs to think about his future, and I'm not talking about his career. Does he want kids? Does he want to have a happy marriage with you? I think it would be hard to have a life if you're working over 100 hours a week. Story 43. He is an unhealthy, unhappy workaholic who takes no time for recreational pursuits or social activities. Are you going to have children with him? He will be an absent partner. You cannot fix this. Only he can by cutting back and stopping giving everything to his job. Story 44. I'm sorry to say that this is not healthy for him physically or mentally and for your relationship. I was in the financial industry for over 25 years and made a lot of money but was deeply unhappy. I quit a few years ago to pursue different things on my own. It was the best decision I ever made for my family and my physical and mental health, even though I make a fraction of what I used to. Those golden handcuffs are hard to let go. But you may have to remind him of the great things he has in his life and encourage him to consider if what he is going through is worth the pain. If he wants to stick with it, you will need to be a supportive partner, but I can tell you that many people regret it later in life and you can't turn the clock back. Best wishes. Story 45. How could he possibly be working 100 hours a week every single week? I worked in big law, and my husband works at a technology company known for requiring a lot of work, and neither of us has regularly worked anywhere close to that nor met anyone who seriously does. Similarly, other high-stress careers I have heard of, such as consulting or big tax firms, usually only have these hours for short periods, followed by some slow time to catch up and rest. I have met people who claim to work that much, but if you watch them, you notice they are very inefficient and actually spend much of their time distracted by their computer or phone and count it as work. Your fiance is either very inefficient in his work, a complete pushover who never says no, or something is seriously wrong with his job, and he needs to find a new one. Making him realize that is honestly the only way you can help him. My now husband and I went through a similar issue when he was unhappy at his previous job because he wasn't doing the kind of work he wanted but was afraid to leave. He got very depressed because, even though it wasn't a ton of hours, he never looked forward to work or felt any excitement about what he was doing. I tried many things to make life outside of work easier and more fun for him, but ultimately his mood only changed when he got a new job after much encouragement to try for one. When work takes so much of your time and thoughts, there is no way to be in a better mood without being in a good situation there, and you are ultimately sacrificing your health and happiness for money you don't even have time to enjoy. Story 46. Is 60 hours a week legal in the United Kingdom? Legally, your employer cannot make you work more than 48 hours a week, including overtime, if you are in the United Kingdom. Story 47. I'm sorry to say this, but he is going to have to determine that his life is worth more than this. I had a job like that and switched. The day I signed off, I looked out the kitchen window and realized, that's the sun, and it is still up. I wondered why I put myself through that. My manager left about 4 weeks before me, and within a month, she was off her blood pressure medication. Story 48. His situation is untenable. No job is worth the early death he is working himself towards. Something has to change, and it is not what you are doing for him to make his life better. He has to realize what his job is doing to his relationships and step away from it. Story 49. A full belly and happiness are all my husband wants. My husband works a full-time job and has a very successful side hustle, sometimes working over 100 hours a week. When I ask him what he wants, he says he wants to know that I'm happy and the kids are happy. He loves working. It's very fulfilling for him, and he makes plenty of time for us too. Story 50. Tell him to quit. I made a massive life change a few years ago. You're only here for a short time. I'm in my early 30s, and within 1 year I had 2 younger cousins die, and 1 friend got hit by a bus. Life is short. Work hard, but when you're dead, your boss will replace you in 2 weeks. Story 51. You can get a job and help him out. Make sure dinner is ready for him when he gets home. Offer a massage, run a bubble bath, and give him flowers. Story 52. He's literally working himself into a grave. He needs to cut way back, and if finances get tough, you may have to get a job, assuming you're not already working. Story 53. 2 things. I love you and want to support you in this job you're doing, but I love you, not the money you're making. If you ever want to step back and do something smaller, we'll budget and make our life work out. I'd be with you if you were poor and be no less happy or proud to be your partner. When he comes to bed, try to wake up if you can. Cuddle him, lightly touch his back, or play with his hair so he can fall asleep. Now, for you, are you working? If not, you're in a vulnerable position. If he leaves you and you have no experience, finding work may be difficult, and you might be left with no money from the relationship. Get married, and if you can't, get a job. Personally, if I were making a significant income and working from home, 100 hours per week would be worth it to know my wife didn't have to work outside of managing the home and working towards that nest egg for early retirement. Talk about goals. Talk about end games. Make sure you are not vulnerable. Story 54. I mean, I am not a man, but if I learned anything in my life, kind offers in such situations always help. Story 55. My partner works long hours in a technology role, and I manage most things at home since my work is more flexible. He will never work on the weekends and generally tries to keep his life in check. For example, he plans all of our holidays and many weekend activities. It sounds like you need to have a conversation with your partner about being a workaholic and it becoming too much. Story 56. It sounds like he is not taking care of himself. It's likely he's suffering from long-term stress, affecting his productivity. Here are some small changes he can make from my own experience. Get 8 to 9 hours of sleep each night. You need it, and you don't realize how much of an impact sleep deprivation has until you rest. Then get up early. Sunlight, go outside. Going for a walk in the sun is very much needed. Exercise, make sure you get some exercise each week. Eat healthy, sounds like you are doing this already. Have planned social activities. On your deathbed, will you be glad you spent more time in the office or think of the fun things you did with friends? He also needs to speak to his manager and not continue this way of life. He should reestablish a work-life balance and cut out work in the evenings. If he is approaching burnout, living healthier can help him complete the same amount of work in 40 hours. Story 57. Does he have any paid time off he can use? A great de-stressor is taking some time off to completely unwind and disconnect. Not sure if it's something he is able to do, but it's worth a shot. Plan a relaxing, low-stress trip away somewhere. Story 58. My husband did the same at first with a new position. There is a responsibility on his part for work-life balance. It became unbearable, and he found a solution to correct some behavior of the work culture. He still works very long days, especially if it's an international time zone. It's taken me caring, cleaning, and taking care of the house. I recently retired, so it's a nice shift of responsibility. I had a full-time job for 28 years to have the money to stay at home. Story 59. A lot of people here are not seeing the forest for the trees with their concerns about excessive work without explaining how you can help, which I believe is your question. You can research efficient work practices, business management, or business development. The more knowledgeable you are on this topic, the better suited you will be to help him reduce the number of hours he is working. I put working in quotes because work implies productivity, and when you are working more than 80 hours per week, there isn't enough time to take care of the physical and psychological needs that enable work to continue. Likewise, his quality of work will suffer immensely. If he works in a creative field, he will miss out on real-world inspirations that enable him to connect with an audience. If he works in a scientific, technical, or financial field, he will miss out on the focused and unfocused balance needed for breakthrough realizations. I'd recommend starting with the free online course, Learning How to Learn. I would also recommend reading The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Note, the 7th habit is sharpening the saw. There must be aspects of his work that can be outsourced, such as clerical work, marketing, and editing. Check out the 4-Hour Workweek for strategies in this area. Time to ask, what is success in this arena? What is the fundamental work process necessary for me to be successful? How does it impact my career trajectory when I burn out? Story 60. See, if I were in his shoes, I'd reconsider my life. It sounds like his career is miserable. It's inevitable to want to be motivated and successful at your job, but if it's at the cost of family, friends, and general well-being, is it even worth it? If I may ask, what industry is he in? Story 61. Have a conversation with him about his 4 areas of wealth, as explained in the book Atomic Habits. Health, time, family, and friends. It's similar to the 4 burners theory. Focusing too much on one area can cost him and those around him. Time with his parents is precious and should be prioritized as family time. Life, health, purpose, and wealth are sequential. Without life, the other aspects have no value. Family should receive as much time and attention as earning wealth. If you both realize this and choose to support each other, it will be beneficial for you both. Why sacrifice yourself to earn only to pass that wealth to family later? Story 62. 100 hours? Let's do the math. If that is spread out over all 7 days of a week, it is 14 hours a day. If that is within 6 days a week, it is over 16.5 hours a day. For a 5-day work week, that is 20 hours per day. You don't really have a relationship. You have been abandoned. He is married to work. Spend time with your friends and family, and pursue your hobbies. You've been abandoned by this person. I'd end it, as he has prioritized 0 time for a relationship. If you stay, go find a life of your own. He is always gone, so be with your friends and do things you like. Is this a short-term situation? Will he go back to working 40 to 50 hours a week soon? Is this a permanent work schedule? How long is this going to continue? Find another job. You work to have enough money to eat and pay the bills. If work is all he does, he is not the type to have a relationship with. Story 63. Like anything else that takes up too much of your time, it's subject to suspicion. Some people use long work hours to escape something bothering them. Is there an issue at home or a family matter? Although some people just like to work a lot, it's not worth working all those hours, as after 64 hours, income taxes start taking significant portions of your earnings. So, it's neither worth nor healthy to work that much, unless it's a short-term situation to earn a sum for a house or cover an emergency medical bill. Did you ask why he's working so much? Is he the only person working? I don't know if I missed it, but his job wasn't specified. If he's a doctor, senior cloud network engineer, or involved in fire and rescue, then this makes sense as they're always needed or on standby. If he's working in a warehouse or another low-wage job, then it's not worth it at all. He needs to work smarter, not harder. Those jobs have no loyalty, and you can be replaced within 2 shifts or even an hour. Learn to invest or find quick part-time side jobs that can generate income to cover groceries or a bill or two. Reevaluate your finances and spending. Reevaluate the financial goal too. He could cut down to 80 hours, which would make a huge difference. Then slowly reduce to 56 hours, which is much better. Story 64. In my opinion, burnout comes from too much multitasking, so she needs to simplify her life. It is the back and forth between different logic that makes tasks more complicated than we think. It's a bit like a construction project. You know when it starts, but not when it finishes because of the rest periods and how your energy will be available. We often underestimate these factors in performance. Story 65. Easy. Convince him to stop working 100 hours a week, take a break of several weeks, and take care of his health. Nothing justifies what he's doing, no amount of money, no amount of success. Story 66. No joke. I would rather be homeless and begging in the streets than work 100 hours a week. I think I would rather be in prison. What a life. Unreal. Story 67. Full-time work in my country is 40 hours a week. I'd see if he could reduce his hours to that, and if not, I wouldn't stay with someone who works that much. Story 68. This is the exact life he chose, and every day that goes by without him changing industries to address any concerns is him choosing his job over you, himself, life, and family. Eventually, hopefully, he comes to a point where he sees that money, work, and jobs are not more important than relationships, health, and longevity. Story 69. Man, at that point, I'd wonder if he even has you in mind, let alone himself. Nothing I can say that hasn't already been said. Story 70. Ask him what he wants in the long term. Is it money, power, or something else? Then ask him if it's worth all the pain of today. Story 71. Tell him your worries and encourage him to try cutting back, maybe go to therapy. He has likely been manipulated by his job to sacrifice every aspect of his life for work, and it will take a while to get him out of it. If he is the sole breadwinner, getting your own job might help if finances are his concern. Story 72. Sounds like he needs a supportive partner to help him switch jobs or careers. No position or amount of money is worth wasting the few years you have on this earth. Story 73. A very small suggestion. A walking treadmill desk makes a huge difference in how I feel if I need to be on the computer all day. I would highly recommend it. Story 74. Tell your guy that he is being exploited. I have a friend who has a similar demanding job. He works 100 hours too. He has a wife and child, a house, but it all feels empty because he is never available. Story 75. He is in physical pain or feels some type of soreness all the time. I'd be more concerned about this than burnout. If he's experiencing physical pain from sitting at a computer and typing, then he's doing something wrong, and doing this day in and day out can lead to permanent injuries. He needs a different chair, a different keyboard, better posture, and to get up once in a while to stretch, etc. Once you've addressed his physical needs, then consider burnout. In my limited experience, burnout can come from a few things. One is an unsatisfying job, but that doesn't seem to be an issue here. Another is a lack of opportunity to do the things you'd like outside of work, but that doesn't seem so bad if the situation is only temporary. A third is just a lack of sleep. Don't underestimate this one. It can surface in non-obvious ways and is exacerbated by the other two. If he's staying up late, he'll suffer for it, possibly because that's the only time he has to watch a movie or spend time with you. If this is the problem, you'll need to find another way or time to do those little life things that make him happy and ensure he gets to bed at a reasonable hour. Story 76. I honestly can't imagine how he is surviving. I worked 60 to 70 hours during my busiest time and found that to be both mentally and physically exhausting. It also caused harm to my relationship because I wasn't present, and even when I was around, I was worn out. My question is, how can I make life better for him, small or big? You mentioned that he is at his desk a lot and is experiencing physical pain. Can you talk him into a more ergonomic setup? A standing or sitting desk can make a huge difference, as well as monitors at a proper height. If he doesn't have these things already, he should invest in them as soon as possible. Also, when is the slowest period in his workday? Can you talk him into a 5-minute outdoor break? He probably won't be up to even a quick walk yet because that will feel like leaving work, but sitting outside on the front steps or something similar could be a quick mental break. It would be good to have that become part of his routine. Long hugs can decrease stress. They can also be a good reminder that he isn't alone even though he's currently quite isolated. Drinking when stressed and depressed isn't great. What does he like to drink? Can you suggest alternatives that aren't alcoholic if he has started drinking too much or too regularly and you're concerned? I personally found ginger beer was a nice alternative when I wanted whiskey but knew I shouldn't drink. It's obviously a very different flavor and it's high in sugar, which isn't ideal, but it has some bite to it, which I like, and it was a better option for my mental health at that time. Story 77. Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do when time off is what he needs and what he's not willing to take. I hope your fiance starts seeing that the purpose of life includes more than work. There's so much more. Story 78. You put your foot down and make him slow down. I was in his shoes, never saw family, never got to make plans, missed holidays, and always worked, always on call. 3 heart attacks and almost dying made me finally open my eyes and say enough. You can either plan how you will spend life insurance money or make him stop and live his life. I had no spouse to stop me. It came to almost killing me to finally open my eyes. Story 79. I agree with everyone here. The only thing you can do is talk to him about his career. Don't try to persuade or tell him what to do. Just talk. Ask him how he feels, what his struggles are, and your future together. It's ultimately his decision what he does with his life, and you need to allow him to make that choice. However, you can help him realize that this life isn't sustainable. I know people like this. They get stuck in everyday work life. I'm surprised he even has you, honestly. If he has the capacity to put this much effort into his job, then he can put effort into you and finding a better career that is more sustainable. Good luck to you both. Love you all. Story 80. He has his priorities wrong. You should be thinking about whether this is the life you want. Watching your partner always stressed out with no free time is not a way to live. Story 81. 1. Make sure he is healthy. That is insane, so doctor appointments, standing desk or treadmill, vitamins, healthy food. Make sure he sleeps well with the best bed, etc. Bring emotional stability, manage the house, shopping, etc. Intimacy. Save as much as you can. At that rate, in 5 years, either successful or in a mental institution. Story 82. Everyone dies, but not everyone lives. Some people might say everyone's ignoring your initial question, but really, this should be taken as a sign because it is the hard truth. I hope your fiancé realizes it sooner rather than later when he's old and has the same thoughts repeatedly about how much of it was not worth it. Story 83. If he is in demand this much, I am sure he can find another job or career that doesn't chain him to his desk and make him part of the machine. What he is doing isn't living. The best way to help him would be to kindly but firmly explain that there are other options. He doesn't have to feel he has no choice, and you are willing to make the necessary sacrifices, such as relocation, less income, or changing your own job, to create a more balanced, healthy, and fulfilling life for both of you. You aren't being supportive if you encourage his lifestyle and help send him to an early grave. This goes beyond burnout. This is physical and psychological torture. Story 84. Reinvest some of the extra funds into side hustles that will eventually take care of the basic bills. When he burns out, and he will if he keeps this pace, then there is a backstop. He may or may not want to get out, but setting things aside and allowing them to grow or creating a side hustle to help him escape could be a good way to assist. Story 85. Is this even a real question? He's a human being who's being treated like a drone. If you aren't working, then I recommend getting a job. Reduce spending and cut back on the hours. There really is no way to improve the life of someone working many hours, except to reduce the hours worked. We're all going to die one day. Story 86. I'm happy to help him with the lifestyle his career choice imposes on our relationship. I don't think you should have an unlimited commitment to accommodate his lifestyle choices. Stop asking what you can do for him and put some pressure on him to make changes. Story 87. Someone who works that much and isn't in a survival situation likely has psychological problems, generally referred to as workaholics. Get him therapy, buy him books, send him videos, whatever it takes to help him realize he needs to cut that behavior out. Honestly, I'm concerned about why you're with this guy. Story 88. I'm late to the party, but unless he's earning $600,000 or more per year, or maybe even $1 million per year, working 100 hours per week to exhaust yourself early isn't worth it. That, or this is his business that he owns and plans to sell in a few years. If he's in a lucrative industry and good at his job, he can absolutely find a position making $200,000 to $300,000 per year, working 35 to 40 hours each week, likely remote too. This is his choice, but you really have to look at what you two are trying to accomplish in this life. Will all that money be worth him looking or feeling 60 when he's 45? If he makes less than I think he does, then what is he doing? Story 89. If he works from home at all, getting him to take breaks every 2 hours, drink a lot of water, and ensuring his chair and headset are comfortable would help significantly. A massage could alleviate stress and body aches. You might consider hiring someone to come to the house or his workplace. Head, neck, shoulder, and hand massages can be done quickly without needing to get undressed. Story 90. It may not be advice he would appreciate, but it's time to set some major boundaries with work. The important things in life begin each day when we leave the office, not when we log on. That stress and chronic workaholism will catch up to him and affect his physical, mental, and emotional health, as well as the health of your relationship eventually. What's more important? Story 91. I don't think you can help him. It sounds like he's chosen work over life. A lifestyle change is needed. Do you know how important sleep is? He is taking years off his life. People who work like this don't last long after retirement, so I hope that's not when he plans to start living. What's the point of money when you can't enjoy it? Story 92. Hopefully, he is saving up to create a cushion. It should be temporary. I've seen people manage it like this and retire by 35. One thing you can do is create as much rejuvenation as possible. Femininity alone is healing. Think Japanese spa. The aesthetics of sounds and smells are relaxing. Your touch, a massage does wonders. Story 93. Work less, and he will not feel accomplished. People cannot work over 100 hours per week. I have chosen to work 36 hours a week. I make enough for holidays flying overseas, a nice car, and I refuse to work more. I work to live my life and spend time with my son. I do not live to work. Story 94. Tell him the first 2 paragraphs and ask if a few years down the line, when he's lying in bed waiting for death to come, if this was worth it. Or show him how much his company made in profits and ask how much of that went to him. Story 95. Dude, there are only 168 total hours in a week. I don't care what you feed him, his body is going to shut down in a month or two. Story 96. 100 hours is ridiculous. 60 hours is excessive considering 40 hours is an average working week. He's basically a slave to the job and can't benefit from any of the money he earns, so what is the point? Support family? Surely the family would like some time with him as well. This is a shortcut to the grave, and he needs to reevaluate his priorities, his life choices, and his work because this is insane. Simple as that. You can't do anything other than tell him he needs a new job. Rather than one person working 100 hours, his work should have 2 people working 50 hours. I'm sure there is probably some funny accounting trick that means they overall pay less, but I'm savvy to that kind of thing. Story 97. Food? sex, respect, and peace are good for him. Get into saving. Agree on a saving target with him so he can retire in a few years if he wants to, making working hard optional. Story 98. The problem is you to a certain extent. Not saying you're doing it on purpose, but can't you see that he's slowly killing himself at this job? You only say good things about how he's doing or how much he's accomplished, but does no part of you want him to stop? Isn't a life partner supposed to be someone that looks out for what's best for you? Someone who's got your back. Even if you don't, why do you want him to stay in that job? You probably won't say the truth to us, but can you admit the truth to yourself? Story 99. Have you tried asking him what he really wants, both short-term and long-term? How do you affect his decision to work so much? Are you using all his resources wisely? Story 100. No job and no amount of money is worth working 100 hours a week. You are trading your life and health for something you cannot even enjoy. Story 101. He sacrifices his health for wealth, then sacrifices his wealth for health, lives as if he will never die, and dies as if he never lived. If he has a plan for early retirement, it can be worth powering through. But he really needs to look into jobs with fewer hours and less stress, even if it slightly extends the time required for those plans. Story 102. Reads like average investment banker issues. I wouldn't know. I couldn't get into the industry myself. You being there for him is sweet, though, and I'm sure he appreciates it. Story 103. Been there, done that. It will not last and is not sustainable. If possible, try to get another job at a different company doing the same tasks but with less burden, or leave the industry for another with the same skill sets. Alternatively, start the transition to management, which is a path many take when they can't perform as much practically, or possibly start your own firm or company. However, sometimes that's worse with more stress. This type of work can literally harm someone and has happened to people I know under 40. There are also other dangers, like driving home or crossing the street while overworked and underrested. Story 104. You are doing a really good job supporting him. Try to go for a walk together to get some fresh air. Otherwise, it's important that he does not feel left alone. Maybe consider therapy. Sincerely, a woman left by her husband when she was burnt out. Story 105. Most people are not giving you the advice you sought. For me, when working long hours, the things that help are having tasks done for me without needing to think about them. House chores, meals delivered, and similar help. Do it without asking, as it adds to my mental load to decide what I want for dinner, what clothes need washing, and where we keep the spare toilet paper. I have also been given neck massages at my desk, hot towels for my neck, and a foot bath at my desk. You get the idea. For bigger changes, getting a standing desk will help his health, and ensuring there is natural light somewhere is beneficial. Story 106. Get a good enough job that you can contribute to maintaining your living standards, and then convince him to get a different job. If he's working 7 days a week, he's working 14-hour days every day. If he's working 5 days a week, that's 20 hours a day. That is not healthy. He will be in the grave sooner rather than later if he keeps that up. Story 107. It seems something is preventing him from pursuing the usual treatment, engaging with sex workers, using cocaine, and undergoing testosterone treatment for triathlon training. You do not last 8 years in such an industry without these. Story 108. Is this a regular occurrence or something temporary that has become the new normal? I understand the situation since I have been surrounded by people who worked overtime in competitive industries. Is he depressed by this situation? Does he have a plan to reduce the hours or change to a job with more regular hours? The thing is that people in high-intensity jobs cannot stop overnight because they lose all routine and purpose. They have to be eased out before burnout sets in. Story 109. So 100 hours a week leaves roughly 9.7 hours per day to eat, sleep, exercise, relax, and socialize. No wonder he is miserable. You need, and I mean need, to get that 8 hours of sleep a night, do some exercise, and eat well-balanced meals to ensure your health is good. More and more studies show how detrimental it is not to get enough sleep. If I were you, I would be asking, is it worth it? What are the goals here? What is the point? Money, retirement, status? I have watched too many people literally work to death. They retire at 65 or 60 or even 50, and within a year, they're dead from stroke, heart attack, and so on. With my own fiance, I worry about him. He does after-hours on-call work for his company. Lately, it's been difficult because of recurring issues, and he's putting in an hour or two of overtime most days right now. Even with that, I see he's too tired and worn out, and I worry. At least it's only temporary. If he were at the level your fiancé is, I would be staging an intervention. I get you want to be supportive, but at the end of the day, you need to think practically. This level isn't sustainable. If he doesn't voluntarily step back, something will likely make him, whether it's mental or physical. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.